All-wheel drive is becoming an important factor when it comes to buying a new car. Why get a crossover when you can get a sporty sedan with all-wheel drive, just like that Altima?
And although the Altima does have all-wheel drive, it still has to beat one of the best family sedans on the market, and right now, that's the Honda Accord.
The Accord is fun to drive, spacious, and full of technology, so the Altima has to one-up it in each one of those categories to be named best in class. Both of these cars are powered by 4-cylinder engines. It's a turbocharged 1.5 in the Accord, and that makes 192 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to a CVT, which earns 31 miles per gallon combined. But over here in the Altima, we've got a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine that makes 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. All that power gets sent to all four wheels through a CVT, and you'll expect 29 miles per gallon. Both of these engines feel really different on the road, with the Accord feeling less buzzy and more responsive. But if you want the sure-footedness of all-wheel drive, well, there's no beating the Altima's powertrain. The interior alone will sell you on the Accord. I mean, who needs a crossover? Look at all the space we have in this vehicle. In the rear seats, you'll find 5 more inches of rear legroom in comparison to the Altima. And when you go into the trunk, you'll find 16.7 cubic feet of storage. That's also more than the Altima. Those rear seats also fold down for additional storage. But more than that, this vehicle feels more premium than anything with a Honda badge really should. I mean, the leather and the trim are pretty good, but there's so much technology and such high-tech features in here. For example, I've got a head-up display and a digital gauge cluster, not to mention this really responsive and easy-to-use touchscreen that features Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support. There's also a wireless phone charger, heated and vented seats, and a heated steering wheel, which is so helpful for those in colder climates. It's like a warm hug for your hands. If there's one thing I need to complain about in this vehicle, is that the seating position just isn't that good, at least in comparison to the Altima. You see, after a long trip in this car, you end up feeling a little numb, and that just won't do. The Accord has always been one of the top vehicles in this segment, and the Altima has always struggled to make it in the top 3. But it's always more fun to root for the underdog, and the Altima is now offered with all-wheel drive. Is that really enough to take on the Accord, which is the complete package? Not only is the Accord fun to drive, but it is feature-filled and spacious. But probably one of the most interesting things about the Accord is the powertrain. Now, the vehicle we have here today features the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine that makes 192 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. Mated to a CVT transmission, this thing will earn 31 miles per gallon combined, which is a smidge more than what you get in the Altima. If you want more power or better fuel efficiency, you can opt for a 2-liter turbo or a hybrid powertrain, but you have to pay a little bit extra for that. But really, do you want to get more power out of this engine? I really don't think so. It's really fun to drive. When you put your foot down, the CVT just loads this vehicle into the power band and you just take off. And when you lay off the pedal, you're rewarded with excellent fuel mileage. To help things out, you can switch between an eco mode and a sport mode to better suit your driving preferences. Does Honda have an answer for that all-wheel drive system? No. But I'm struggling to see why you would need an all-wheel drive system in a mid-size sedan. I'm sure Jody's going to tell you how safe and secure she felt on the road with the Altima during yesterday's thunderstorm. But a good set of tires and some common sense on the road will help you feel just as safe. All-wheel drive adds weight, which impacts fuel economy and the way the vehicle drives. And if you drive these two cars back to back, you'll notice that the Accord is a ton of fun to drive. I'm not saying it's sporty, it's just more responsive in comparison to the Altima. Honda put a lot of effort into making this vehicle feel really sharp and responsive, and very few other automakers put that much thought into everything. You'll probably be surprised at how much fun the Accord is to drive. I mean, it's a mid-size sedan. What's going on here? But if your commute is mundane and boring, you'll probably want to flip on the adaptive cruise control system, which works really well at bringing the car up to speed and slowing it down when you reach traffic. It can even bring the car to a complete stop. Now, the rest of Honda's safety suite is kind of average, especially the forward collision warning system and the blind spot monitoring system, which both lose their cool whenever something unexpected happens, and it can feel really jarring. In comparison to Nissan's ProPilot Assist, these are the elements of Honda's safety suite which just don't feel up to par. But this adaptive cruise control system feels great. But finally, let's talk about pricing. Now, this 1.5-liter turbocharged version of the vehicle can be had with the EXL trim level. that will cost you just over $31,000. If you want to get a fully loaded touring model, you'll have to get a hybrid powertrain or a 2-liter turbo version of the car, which will cost around $35,000. The hybrid is more affordable, but the 2-liter turbo, well, that's more fun.
I actually think Nissan did a really good job with the exterior redesign of the Altima. I think it's classy and kind of in your face, but without pulling a Camry and just trying to scare you with its predator face. So it looks classy, but I still think the Accord looks a little bit better. Nissan fell short in a couple different areas, and one of those is unfortunately the interior. There's gotta be at least 7 different kinds of trim in here. There's this fake wood, fake carbon fiber, 2 different types of piano black, and one of them has sparkles in it, and it just looks like dust. There's also some wobbly bits and some things that don't seem to be screwed in properly. So in general, it's not as luxurious as what the Accord offers. Luckily, other parts of the interior are okay. The layout makes sense and everything is pretty user-friendly, and I really like the infotainment system. It's easy to find things, and I love that it comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. Nissan did a great job with keeping things very straightforward and didn't try to overcomplicate the design for the sake of doing something crazy. Its user-friendliness gets it a lot of points. The new Altima is bigger in most dimensions than the old one, but the Accord still has more room for passengers and cargo, although this does have the super comfy seats. One of the best features in the interior is the seats. They're made out of the comfiest material, and you could probably drive for hours without getting sore. Nissan calls these zero gravity seats, and it honestly does feel like you're floating. Maybe it says a lot about the Altima when the seats are the highlight, but they do deserve some credit here. This might be maybe the only area that it beats the Accord too. So the Altima offers one thing that the Accord doesn't, and that's all-wheel drive. And yesterday there was a massive thunderstorm and I was driving around doing full throttle runs from stop signs, and there was barely any wheel slippage, so it felt really good. I think anyone who has snowy winters to deal with might really appreciate that extra traction, though you'd still have to get dedicated winter tires. The Altima pretty much acts like a front-wheel drive car most of the time. It sends 100% of the power to the front axle until some slippage is detected, and at that point it can send up to 50% to the rear axle. Sammy probably mentioned that all-wheel drive takes a big penalty on your mileage, but in reality there's only a 2 mpg difference between the Altima and the 1.5-liter Accord, so it's kind of a wash. Some people might see it as a downside that you can't get the upgraded VC turbo engine with the all-wheel drive system, and Nissan really did that to help keep the price of the Altima affordable, so it does make sense. So this Nissan Altima is powered by naturally aspirated 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. Off the line, it feels pretty good, and it really only gets kind of unresponsive when you're trying to pass someone on the highway, and I think that has a lot to do with the CVT as well. You've probably heard a lot about CVTs in general just not being that good, but in all honesty, the one in the Altima is actually not that bad at all, although the Accord certainly does feel a lot more responsive when you're driving and trying to pass people or even off the line. One thing I think the Altima does a lot better than the Accord is how composed and smooth it feels over rough roads. So it has something called intelligent ride control, and it uses the car's rear brakes to help stop unwanted bouncing around on uneven roads, and I think it works really well. One of the highlights of the Altima is the ProPilot assist system. Now, this is probably one of the best adaptive cruise control systems on the market right now, and it's actually way better than what's in the Accord. So it does the traditional adaptive cruise control, so it can keep a safe distance between you and the car in front, but it also has the added benefit of lane centering, which helps take the stress out of long drives or just sitting in traffic. I really like the way ProPilot Assist works because it feels really natural when you're using it. So the acceleration and the slowing down, it's not jarring, and the system doesn't beep at you all the time like in the Accord. Convenience features like forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, remote start, and a driver alertness monitor are standard, while Nissan's Safety Shield 360 is included on mid-range SV models and above. This bundles things like rear cross traffic alert, automatic high beams, blind spot monitoring, and lane keep assist. The Altima is also ridiculously easy to park with this top-down bird's eye view camera. Unfortunately, the rest of the car is just kind of average. It doesn't do one thing particularly well, and it really doesn't offer you anything better than the Accord. I'm kind of struggling to see why you'd get an Altima over an Accord, a Mazda 6, or even a Camry.
So Jody, even with all-wheel drive, can that Nissan stand up to the Accord?
I think Nissan made a really good effort with the new Altima, but I just don't think it's as good as the Accord.
Simply put, the Accord is the complete package, which is what makes it one of the best vehicles in the mid-size sedan segment.